Okay, the Rambam, Sefer Misvot, Misvot Aseh, positive commandments. The last Misvah that we read was Misvah number Lametet 39. So we're up to Misvah Mem number 40. So we're still in the broad context of the Misvot associated with the Bet HaMikdash. We specifically just began speaking about Korbanot, sacrificial offerings in the Bet HaMikdash, and we named the number one and the common one yesterday, the Korban Tamid, the daily twice offering of the Korban Tamid, as an Olah. And now we're going to continue with a long list of Korbanot. But luckily for us, and no coincidence, we're in the season approaching Pesach now. For the next few weeks, we'll be entering Misvot that are going to be relevant to the Shalosh Regalim, 3 holidays, and including specifically, we'll get into Pesach itself as well. So we're timely right now as well. We're in Korbanot and segueing in to Korbanot relevant to holidays. So Misvah Mem, Hi Shesivanu, Shiakrib Kohen Gadol B'chol Yom Tamid, Mincha B'boker, Mincha B'erev. So there's a Misvah. So we have the daily Korban Olah. It's called the Olat Tamid, the daily Korban in the morning and the afternoon, Tamid Shal Shachar and Tamid Shal Ben Ha'arbaim, the morning and afternoon, constant, Tamid means constant sacrifice of Olah every day in the Bet HaMikdash. There's another constant, there's another daily, and that is that the Kohen Gadol has a personal korban, which has a personal obligation. It's not a personal korban, but there's a personal obligation for the Kohen Gadol to bring a flour offering and divide it once in the morning, once in the afternoon. V'hi nikret Habateh Kohen Gadol. That's how this korban is known. Habateh Kohen Gadol. V'tikra gamken Mirchat Kohen Mashiach. It has another name to it. The Kohen Gadol, which sometimes in certain contexts can be called Kohen HaMashiach, the anointed Kohen. His mincha, his flour offering, what's the source? For whom ro yit'aleh, ze korban Aharon ubanav. The Torah identifies this daily flour offering as the specific obligation of Aharon, his children, meaning in his descendants, but those who act as Kohen Gadol. This is not for any Kohen. This is only for Kohen Gadol. So the details of this Misvah, the how and when, are in various 3 different Masechtot. Misvah Mem Aleph number 41. Hisha Sivala Hakriv Korban B'chol Shabbat v'Shabbat Musaf Al Tamid Shekol Yom Vayom. So we're into constants now, something that is routine and schedule. We had dailies. Now we have a weekly. The weekly is that every single Shabbat, there's a Korban Musaf, which is besides the daily offering of the Korban Tamid. In other words, the constant daily remains on Shabbat. You still bring the Tamid Shal Shachar and Tamid Shal Ben Ha'arbaim. On top of that, it's called the Korban Musaf. Of course, our prayers align to these Korbanot, right? The Korban came first. The prayer came many years later, right? But this is called the Korban Musaf, obviously from the root word, the Hosif, add, additional. So Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, and all the holidays have a Korban Musaf. And here we're being told that this is going to be every week, because it's Shabbat. There'll be another Korban on top of the daily offering. V'hu omro, and the source is Shenei Chebasim B'nei Shana. So you know that all these Korbanot obligations, including the Korban Tamid, are mentioned in Parashat Pinehas. That's our general encyclopedia of the constant communal and national Korbanot throughout our calendar year. Now we know this because we also happen to read this piece when we read on Sefer Torah, the Rosh Chodesh piece. We say, Ubyom HaShabbat Shenei Chebasim B'nei Shana Timimim. So that's Shenei Chebasim, and we say at the end, Olat Shabbat Al Olat HaTamid. Olat Shabbat. So this is a burnt offering. It's a Korban Olah. Shabbat, meaning the Musaf Shabbat, the additional one. Al Olat HaTamid. is above and besides the regular daily offering of the seventh day of the week. And that's this mitzvah number 41. So you'll see that a lot of these korbanot, we keep mentioning Masechet Yomah, and we also mention the Mishnah, which is Masechet Tamid, which Tamid means constant, right? So it describes the daily routine, the entire Masechet of the Beit HaMikdash, including the consistent korbanot. And so Korban Tamid and Musaf Shabbat are both mentioned there. Okay, Mizvah Membet number 42. He shesiva la'akrib korban bechol rosh chodesh musaf al tamid shel kol yom. So also on Rosh Chodesh, once a month, besides, let's say it's a weekday, besides the regular korban tamid, the daily constant of the morning and the afternoon, you have Rosh Chodesh, and we did was also Parashat Pinehas ubrashe hochechem zehu musaf Rosh Chodesh. That's the musaf of Rosh Chodesh korban. V'hum ro yit'aleh yitbarach shemo ubrashe hochechem. It says in Parashat ubrashe hochechem terkib olah Adonai keparim bnei bakar shenayim v'ayilachad kebasim bnei shana shev'at timim. Right, so you have the first the korban ayil, you have korban kibasim. They're all 7 kibasim. They're all a korban olah, a burnt offering. All right, so now it's not just one on Shabbat. Daily it's one. Shabbat there's 2, and all of a sudden on Rosh Chodesh you have parim shenayim, ayil 1, and kibasim 7. That's an extra 10 on Rosh Chodesh. By the way, that's besides the fact, and we'll mention this at a different time, there's also a korban hatat, the chaper, and a atoning hatat offering. Hatat is always for kapara. In any case, this is for the addition for Musaf Rosh Chodesh. Mizvah Mem Gimal number 43. He shesiva lahakrib korban musaf al hatamid kol shiv'at yemei Pesach. So now we get into the holidays, and we start with the first holiday on the calendar, meaning the first month, which is Nisan, which is Pesach, and we have a mitzvah. Also, this is mentioned in Parashat Pinehas for Musaf Pesach on top of the regular Korban Tamid, to also bring an extra korban musaf. Now, this is not just one day or not just Yom Tov. This is for all 7 days. The korban musaf is the same. Now, that shows you, by the way, that there's not a special necessarily Yom Tov korban, right? There's only, according to the Torah, 2 days Yom Tov, 1st and 7th of Pesach, but all 7 days is the same Korban Musaf on Pesach. Now, by the way, we're mentioning here Rosh Chodesh. Now we just got into the holidays. Pesach, it's all assuming that it falls on a weekday. For a word to fall on Shabbat, then you add also the Korban of Shabbat. Mizvah Mem Dalet number 44. He so now we're going in calendar order. So there's a flour offering called the Omer. It's of barley. On the 16th day of Nisan, which is the equivalent of the 2nd day of Pesach, which means that besides the daily offering and the Pesach additional offering, you have a flour offering on that 2nd day of Pesach, which is the 16th day of Nisan. It's called the Omer. And with the flour offering comes a single kebes lamb offering, which is an olah. The source, right? So there, and it says in the Torah, in Parashat Pinehas, after it mentions the korbanot of Pesach, it mentions to bring the Omer. Bikurim. There's another word for this flour offering, bikurim. Why is it called bikurim? Bechor, first, because this is the first of any grain. This grain offering is the first of the year. In other words, it's brought from the new grain of the harvest. And the harvest of barley is first. And this is what we know as the Omer. ועליה רמז באומרו יתברך שמו ואם תקריב מנחת ביקורים. So there is a indirect mentioning which doesn't inform us of the Misvah, but in another pasuk it says, and it was talking about what should be hames and not. If you bring the Minchat Bikurim, which is referring to the offering of the Korban Omer. So you see it has that name as well. V'lashon Mechilta, the Midrash says, Kol im ve'im shebat Torah. Normally when it says im, it means the Torah. Here it says if you shall offer the Minchat Bikurim, Reshut, they're all optional. Chutz mishlosha shem chabad. Besides three exceptions, which are obligatory, even though it says the word im. If Ehad, and one of them is this pasuk. V'im takri hakurim. Atamer chobah, says the Midrash. You're saying this is obligatory, or eno ela reshut? Maybe it really means as the word sounds, im, if, optional. Tamud lomar. That's why it says elsewhere, takriv min had bikureh. Must offer your first flour offering as a command, as a directive. Chobah velo reshut. So we know that despite the word usage of im elsewhere in this korban, it's not an option but an obligation. Now, of course, we know that this is a very functional korban. The purpose of this korban omer, of the new barley, is to allow the hadash, to allow all of this past years. Remember, the year just started, it's Nisan. All of the past years all of the past year's flour that was new this past year, or flour from the grains, now they become yashan, right? Because now you're bringing the new barley offering of this year. Everything from last year now becomes yashan and edible. Up to that point in time, the people were not allowed to eat, up to the 16th day of Nisan, any of the grain grown from this past year. Now, this is in Eretz Yisrael, still a Misvah. Outside of Eretz Yisrael, it's a machlok. According to Sfaradim, it's still a Misvah. That's why Sfaradim can only eat yashan. We can't eat hadash. Of course, there's a whole discussion about is there practically anything called on the shelves of the stores a hadash, new flour? The answer is only in the United States of America, where there are two harvests, there's a winter and a spring harvest. And then it depends on where Pesach falls in the season and the mills and the production and which type of products to begin with. They use the old flour or the new flour, but it certainly is an issue, certainly is a topic. So a Sephardic Jew in the United States of America in the 21st century is the only person that has to worry in the world about this Misvah today, called Hadash and Yashan. In any case, they all came from this Korban Omer. So the entire discussion of this comes from the 10th chapter in Masechet Menachot. We'll read one more Misvah. 5. On the 50th day from Mehikrabtem HaOmer, from offering the Korban Omer, Shushisha Asar bin Nisan, which was the 16th of Nisan, on the 50th day from that, count. This is the Korban Musaf of Aseret, more popularly known as Shavuot. Shavuot holiday, Korban Musaf, and Iskar B'Sefer B'Midbar Sinai, that's mentioned in the book of B'Midbar, as we've been saying, in Parashat Pinehas. The specific source is Ubyom HaBikurim, which is the name of Shavuot, and it names you the Korban Musaf brought on Shavuot. Of course, we'll get to this other Misvah soon, later, and that is going to be the counting that we do in between. The Sefirah, we call it Sefirat HaOmer, because the counting begins from the Korban Omer on the 16th of Nisan, and culminates 50 days later with the holiday of Shavuot. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.